Okay, now let's try to start rendering things that are a little bit more specific. Let's say we wanted to render some clouds. How would we go about doing that? All right. It can be quite easy. Um, Basically, what we would do is create some cloud shapes and just create very easy cloud shapes. Now I take that, rotate them a little bit, you know. I'm going to create a lot of clouds so that we can have a discussion about um, how clouds recede in space. And now I am seeing maybe a little too many. I'm gonna, oops. Delete. Delete. And then merge some of these together. I'm just doing really fast ones. Here, I'll even change the color so that we could see it a little bit easier. This initial phase doesn't really matter what it looks like. Basically, I'm trying to create some cloud shapes. Some fluffy cloud shapes. If I was to do something cartoony, I would do more solid, a cleaner, I would say what they call cleaner silhouettes instead of having these really fuzzy, fluffy silhouettes. All right? All right, so what I'm going to do now is make a mask of this, unclip this, and what I'm going to do is just warp it into perspective. And this is how it starts to look. And actually, I don't like some of the shapes, but we could adjust that later. But here's a quick way if you're having trouble designing these shapes as they recede, we could do that. All right. And for the sake of the demonstration, I'll just readjust some of these shapes up here. Make them a little bit larger. Create some shorter ones over here just to kind of clean up the silhouette. All right. And then I'll lock to transparency. Okay, so now how do we color this? One thing we should always look out for is that a cloud is a cube. So try to think of 3 planes. So I'm going to have a light direction coming from this side, and I'm going to first paint everything this color. So paint everything in shadow first. Boom. Second, I'm going to paint everything in this second middle value. And for the far ones, pretty much it's there. You're not going to see a lot of the bottom plane because it's far. But as it gets closer, I'm going to slowly introduce more of the bottom plane, like that. See, more and more till once it gets over here, it's mostly bottom plane. Like that. Very quickly. Now we already have some clouds. Maybe it's a little bit further back. If I want to push a cloud further back, I'd show more of the front, the side planes instead of the bottom planes. All right. And then once we have those colors, what we can do is add the highlights. And just I'm going to go pure white for this. Get some of those sides. These side planes. Real quick. I'm doing this really fast, and you could take as much time as you like. And with that, get a little bit more brighter sides. Just imagining where those planes are meeting. And then now I'm just going to sort of blend things together. You could use a mixer brush. Here in Clip Studio Paint, I'm using this gouache brush. And I'm just going back and forth between the mixer brush and this brush. First I'm going to just clear up some of these planes. Oops, I'm using the wrong brush, that's why. Feeling a little strange. That's okay. Let's do that real quick. Okay, go back, hit up some of these white areas. Get a color in between. Not a lot of the bottom plane. Alright, and now after that's done, I'm going to further refine the edges. You know, some softer edges. If I was to do this if I was to really render this, I might get some reference photos and look at areas where there could be some subsurface scattering, things like that nature, or you know, some wispy stuff that's happening. But clouds are pretty easy. You just have to make sure that you understand that there are multiple planes to it. So there's lots of spheres, and so you have to really think about how are these working. As sphere objects. And careful of having these really hard edges. The transition, I'm just put it there as ways to plot paint down. And yeah, maybe there's some areas that might look good like that. Clean up the edges. And there we go. White fluffy clouds.